This is Gordon Cohagan, owner of G-Co Performance, and this is Against All Odds.
Gordon Cohagan from Maryland. Where did football start for you? Like the journey?
Honestly, bro, growing up, my parents have always been big in sports. And, where we first started, of course, there wasn't a lot of good things happening. My parents were really big on, we're going to keep you out of trouble. And they kind of knew, like, I've always had a ball in my hand, always. They were like, even when you were a baby, like, you were always doing something, you were running, you were doing something. I started playing football. I was always a bigger kid than everybody else. So my parents actually started me playing tackle football like 4. Because I was always I'd be at school, like preschool and stuff, like running kids over and shit, doing it on purpose. It wasn't intentional. It was literally like, all right, cool. Like, they were like, they'd get like parents would be mad because I'm over here like running people over, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've just bred football. Even when I was a kid, I didn't even know what it was. I just loved football. As I got older, my dad was really good about, challenging me, not just, on the field, but off the field as well, like with my mind, stuff like that. So even when I was a younger kid, I was always more advanced than everybody else. And he didn't push it onto me. He was like, if you want this, like, I'm going to help you as much as I can. So they were always really good about, of course, if you start something, you finish it, but they were really big on too. Like, if you really want this, like, we're going to push you and help you as much as we can to push you in that direction.
For sure.
So, I've been playing football since I was like 4 or 5, bro. I've loved it. I still love it, even though I don't play it anymore. And, even like when I was growing up, we moved a lot. They always made sure I had a football. I was doing something with football. Even my little brother too, he's really big in soccer. It is what it is. But he was really big in sports too. They were always really great about putting us in positions to succeed. So they weren't just, those parents that are like, oh, we want our kid to succeed, and they're not really putting them in that type of atmosphere. They were really big on, like, all right, cool, if you really want this, even as like 5 or 6-year-old, you're gonna honor it and live up to it as much as you can. So, like, if you want to play football, you're gonna play football.
Word.
Like, if you're gonna play soccer, you're gonna play it. You're not gonna quit. Like, if it sucks, you have to deal with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, growing up, like I said, it really taught me a lot, especially because I always played up. So even like, when I was 5 or 6, I was playing with like the 8, 9-year-olds. Because I was just that, my dad, of course, taught me a lot, but I was just that advanced where I could play 3 or 4 years up.
For sure.
So, even when I was in, like middle school, like 6th grade, I was playing with the 8th graders, that were going into high school.
Yeah, for sure.
And, it was a challenge, and I liked it. You know what I mean? My dad pushed me until he's like, you want to be great, like, you want to be great, like, you have to put yourself in situations to push yourself and everyone around you too.
Whereas, we talked about at the beginning, Maryland. What part of Maryland are you from?
Frederick, Maryland. My parents, like I said, they grew up. My mom went to Seneca Valley. My dad went to Damascus. So my dad's really been bred with football. You know what I mean? Like, Damascus won 3 state championships while he was there.
Wow.
So, like, he wasn't one of those guys that was like, I'm gonna push you into football. He's like, hey, I've done this. I've been there. If you really want this, even at a younger age, I can get you to where you need to go. And he did it at a very, like, he wasn't, a lot of people have to either be a coach or a dad. Like, he was my dad, but, like, you know what I mean? It was a combination, but it never, like, overstepped to where, like I said, I didn't look at him any differently.
Yeah, for sure.
So we always had a really different relationship just because he always coached me when I was a kid. And, I played every position. So it wasn't like I was just one position and he, like, gave me the ball. He would put me in positions to, like, challenge myself, like going to play D-line, even though I was one of the small, I was playing 2 to 3 years up. And kids were more developed, like putting me at D-line, or putting me at linebacker, putting me at quarterback, putting me, to like whatever, just to push me to see what I could do. So he wasn't just about, like that daddy ball of like feeding me. He was like, I want my son to like be able to like handle, criticism too, but then also like being able to do other things.
Yeah.
And, like I said, as I got older, I really started to see it more because we actually ended up moving from Frederick to Greencastle, which is like a big culture shock. There's maybe like 5 black people there. And, seeing that firsthand, a lot of those people don't see like a lot of biracial people either. So a lot of them think you're either black or you're white. So like when we got there, I was always a better athlete than a lot of them. A lot of the parents were, they took that out on us. Like, oh, like, I don't want my son playing, with him, or why is my son not playing over him and stuff like that. So it kind of like, I hit it at an earlier age than a lot of kids with maturity, just because I had to handle, the racism part of it, going into school like that. and also kind of like finding myself, because a lot of people don't realize either, like, especially when like you biracial, bro, you got both sides coming at you. So it's like you couldn't please, the black people, you couldn't please the white people. So it was like, growing up, especially in middle school, I had to really like grow up like mad fast, just because, I was dealing with it from that point. My parents were trying to, of course, have my back, but you can only really do so much. So it's like you
Sure.
either got to basically, I wouldn't say like take it on, you know what I mean, and kind of like embrace it and kind of like make it like, make yourself better from it, or you're just gonna let it like burn you out.
Sure.
And that's what they told me. They're like, no, we can, we have your back, but they're like, ultimately, like, you have to, you got to get used to this. Like, this is what you're going to be going through, on a daily basis. So we stayed there for a while. And then we actually moved to West Virginia, went to Spring Mills. That was cool, starting out. I liked a lot of the guys and stuff. I had a good high school career. It was cool. Had fun with my guys. A lot of my guys I'm still cool with. Still cool with my high school coach. I talk to him all the time. Didn't really like I didn't really get into training until, like I said, after high school, when I stopped playing football, because I was in a weird spot where I didn't know what I wanted to do. Didn't know if I wanted to get into coaching. Didn't know if I wanted to get into like graphic design, because I like that type of stuff. I like photography. And Coach McCook, was like, hey, like, do you want to come on and be a student coach? And I was like, yeah, like I don't have nothing better to do. I'm getting paid to do it, every few weeks. It's cool bread. Like, while I figure myself out and get my degree. And I got to like help with the receivers and stuff like that and coach them. Develop great relationships. Still talk to a lot of them to this day. Talk to the receivers coach. He left. He ended up going. I still talk to all the Shepherd coaches. I'm mad close with them. But getting to at 18 years old, I got to coach. There was 3 All-Americans on that team. Just a receiver. Doesn't even count the D line. Doesn't count Tyson being there his first year. Getting to see that kind of blossom. I got to be around like very successful guys and kind of incorporate myself and kind of learn, about, not just receivers, but just everything. I got to see like a college program, a very successful college program. I got to see, what guys do on a daily basis to get better, what they need to work on, stuff like that. And I was being a part of that. And, it came to, after that year, I really sat down, because I had guys actually hitting me while I was at Shepherd about, doing workouts after, during the off season. Because, I was, usually when you get one of the grad assistants, are usually ones running the workouts for the guys, stuff like that, and Marlon and a few others were hitting me like, yo, like, you should definitely like start like training, you know what I mean? Or like getting us in the off season. We'll help you out and stuff. And, I started thinking about it more and more, and I was like, there really isn't anybody around here that's really doing that, football wise. I knew a lot of people back, in the DMV that were doing it like religiously. There's training everywhere for that. I was like, I could really like, start something, just give it a try, see how it goes. I was like, I'm a good people person. I know how to talk to people. Love football. Like, it'll keep me around that a lot. So, I started training people that off season, and I actually took the bet on myself and, called Coach McCook and was like, hey, like, I'm not going to come back. And, he was very supportive of it, had my back 400%. He's like, if you ever want to come back, you walk through the door. So I was able to really kind of, take that on. At first I started out with like 5 kids, bro. Like, I was training them for free just to like kind of get it out there.
I was gonna ask you, how hard was it to get, just kids in the community to buy in?
Yeah, it was.
That probably didn't know you that well.
It was very hard, bro. It was very, especially at first. Like, that first summer was really challenging. I put in a lot of work.
That was the COVID summer too.
Yeah,
like COVID. I'm not saying like COVID's not a thing anymore, but that's when COVID
like really hit.
Hit.
Like I was working 2 jobs at that point, and then still training people after I was done. Really trying to make it work. And I kept, I was reading a lot. I was critiquing myself. I was really giving myself criticism and really trying to better myself. So, all right, like, when I do, like, I'm starting to get more kids. I want to make sure I'm better for them. I don't want to just like be throwing random things at them. And, I started training them. It got bigger and bigger. And, that's when I met, Cash. And Cash was one of my first ones that was like, okay, like, I've been at Shepherd. I've seen Division I guys. Like, this is a Division I kid at 13 years old. And, a lot of people in the community were telling me about, his story and stuff. I was like, okay, this could be my first real like project in a sense. And I was like, I can really invest in this kid and see it kind of go full circle. I was like, it'll kind of be like my first one. And, I've had him since he was 13. It started with Cash. Then I got Aiden, then I got DeMonte. Then I started kind of venturing out and being able to go to different places where I could go to Huntington and get, Deron. I could get, Robbie, Za. I could get, Dom Nichols. I could get those guys that really, are impactful type players. like Cash Gideon and Aiden Fleming, like they're the main reason I'm at where I'm at, and multiple other kids too. You know, Demonte Martin. You know, because it's word of mouth. You know, a lot of kids were like, you know, yo, like he knows what he's doing. You know, he's good at his job. So they were a big reason too, because they've always been successful. There's, you know, they haven't. It's not like they just came on the scene. Um, you know, they've been able to, you know, prove themselves at, you know, a youth level, and then when they make that jump, you know, they got even better with me. So they were, you know, they were able to kind of back it up and be like, hey, like he really got me better, and he did, you know, he really did this for me. So you know, they really started it. You know, and I really invested my time into it. You know, when I had them, you know, I really put a lot of time into those two. And then, you know, Devontae came on the scene just last year. Martin, he just came on the scene. But you know, it really took a lot of, you know, just hard work, honestly. You know, I quit my job.
So training is your full time.
Yeah. So now it is. You know, that COVID year, like I quit my job about, I want to say like right after that summer, like right after the summer ended. And you know, just invested in myself and was like, all right, like I'm gonna really do this and really like take off with it. And you know, Cash Gideon, like, and Aiden Fleming, like they had my back. You know what I mean? They were fully supportive about it. And you know, it's really gone the way that it has because a lot of those kids have, you know, pushed my name and they've had my back with it too. And that's why I am the way that I am when I say like I have their backs just as much. I'm gonna protect them like they're my own as well.
Yeah.
Um, but
I think a lot of people, you know, don't really know that, you know, you go to war for the kids you train, which is crazy. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
you know, it just shows that you're more than you're more worried about the betterment of them than just, you know, receiving money, payments. That's nice too, but you're worried about them after football and, you know, during their recruiting process, their high school years, off the field as well.
yeah. I mean, it's something that I don't mind to do, and it's one of, like, you know, when I have a kid, you know, invest their time into me, I'm gonna invest my time into them. And you know, a lot of trainers can't really say that because, you know, a lot of them are about, you know, the money and stuff like that. I make enough money now. I could like I train maybe 3 or 4 days a week now, and it's to the point where I can invest my time into those guys that, you know, have invested their time into me. And you know, I don't mind doing it because I want to see them successful, because in this area we don't have that. We haven't had anybody that's really gone like the full distance, like, you know, full, you know, they go Division 1, then they go to the league and stuff like that. And like, it's not, you know, it's nothing against, you know, Juwan or even, you know, Westco and stuff like that, but they had to really work extra to get where they go. JUCO, they shouldn't have had to have done that. You know, they should have been able to have their talents valued when they were in high school, and then go those full 4 years and have a scholarship off rip, rather than having to go the JUCO route and maybe it doesn't work out. So that's why, like, I push my guys. You know what I mean? I tell them every time, like, yo, like I'm only here to, like, I'm here to get you better. Like, I'm not here to, you know, make you feel bad. I'm here to get you better and get you out of here. Just because there's nothing good, you know, in this area, and like it's the whole state too. You know, I go everywhere now. I go to every other state. This is a bad state. It really is, just when it comes to, you know, the recruiting stuff, when it comes to, you know, like colleges don't like recruiting here. You know what I mean? And, you know, seeing like a lot of those kids.
But
like,
we had the talent though.
Yeah, and that's where I speak on that. And I tell every single Power 5 coach, I'm like, you guys are, I'm going to prove you wrong. My kids are going to prove you wrong, which therefore makes me, I'm going to prove you wrong. And that's just how I've always been. And that's how a lot of my kids are. Like, they're ready to, you know, go prove people wrong. I don't mind loading up my car and putting, you know, 4 or 5 kids in my small car and going to a camp just to smack somebody in the mouth and be like, we're here. Like, you need to offer this kid. And, you know, it's had a lot of success with it. You know, I've taken not just, you know, Aiden Fleming, Cash Gideon, Demonte Martin. Like, I've taken other guys. And, you know, I have other guys meet me at the camps. Like, tomorrow in Maryland, like, I'll be in Maryland tomorrow, bro. Like, I have 8 kids that are going to be there because they want to be there, because they want to prove themselves. And that's something where, like, I told them, I was like, hey, I can't take every single one of you guys, but we can go up as a group, like a unit, and kind of go up there. And, like I said, it just goes back to, like I said, they've invested so much time into me that I want to invest time into them, because there's nobody around here that's, like, done that football-wise in this area. And it kind of speaks volumes because, like we were talking about earlier, like, you know, I have a kid that has offer from Bama. I have 2 kids offers from Mississippi State. You know, Demonte Martin's got an offer from UNLV. And, you know, even Aiden Fleming's got an offer from, you know, Dartmouth right now in Ivy League school. Like, that's not, like, a coincidence. So it's like, you know, the amount of work they put in is really, you know, came back to them full circle. but it's also a product of like me investing my time and really making sure they need to go where they need to go, and them just fully trusting my process, because I've been around the recruiting process, and a lot of people are gonna be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's only 23. Yeah, but I mean, it's like I said, I tell the boys all the time, like I tell like I have over 100 kids, bro, and I have all their personal numbers. I text them all the time.
It's like a real
Yeah,
relationship.
you know what I mean? And I'm very big on it, very big on a relationship, just because, if you don't have a personal relationship with a kid, they're not going to fully respect you. That's just me personally. I've always been like that. I was like that as a kid. I'm still like that. If I don't have a personal relationship with you, I'll respect you, but it's not like I fully trust you type of thing.
Definitely.
And I feel like around here, like, a lot of the kids need that trust in somebody.
Definitely.
And, especially in football, you know what I mean? Because they go through, youth football, a lot of coaches end up telling them things that they don't happen. High school is the same deal, where they kind of need somebody to kind of like rely on and kind of bounce, either ideas or like just frustrations off of.
For sure.
And, I'm basically like, for a lot of the kids, I'm like their big brother, I'm their trainer, I'm like everything to them.
Someone they can count on.
Yeah, and that's where, a lot of, parents, rely on me for that, and they like me for that. And I don't mind doing that, because like I said, a lot of the kids need that. And, there's not a lot of guys in the area that are doing it besides like you, me. Like there's only a couple, and it's like, we're the only one, like for sport wise. And then like Coach Basie, like he's really great with this stuff too. But football wise, like I feel like I'm the only one that's really like kind of doing that in that aspect, where it's like, these high caliber guys are kind of relying on me to also be like their recruiter, their friend, their teacher, their mentor and stuff like that. I don't mind doing it, but it's just, I feel like a lot of people look at it as like, he's telling them to do one thing and it's just against the grain. And it's like, around here, we haven't had that before. And it goes back to the point, like I said, like there's a kid in this state that has an offer from Alabama. You know what I mean? There's two kids here that I've offered from, Mississippi State. DeMonte's the only guy on this, I checked it, on this East Coast that have offered from UNLV. Like, that's not a coincidence. And, I wish, more of the parents would kind of, I wouldn't say respect it, but, like I get, like, you don't understand it, but there's a difference between like, if you don't understand it, why are you hating on it? Why wouldn't you try to learn about it rather than just trying to tear it down, because you don't understand it, because you don't know it. And, that's a really big thing in this area, where a lot of parents are like, oh, like he puts a lot of things in their heads, he does a lot of negative things. And like I said, I read everything. Like I look at everything. And it doesn't really hurt me, but it hurts the boys, because the boys also see that. And, they rely on me a lot. They're, they look at me as like a big brother, like, why are you like coming after him like that? So they take offense just as much as I do. So it's like, it's kind of hard seeing it, because I really don't care. It's more about, the kids. And,
what keeps you motivated? Like, even though, people have their opinions about you and what you're doing, what keeps you going?
Honestly, them, bro. Like I said, like the Cash Gideons, like the Aiden Flemings, DeMonte Martins, because, they like, honestly, I don't know where they would be. Like, I know they would be in pretty decent situations, but I don't know if they would be where they're at right now without me. And that's no hate or anything, like that. It's just that I really go, 100%, like 120% for them. And, my other kids as well. I make sure they have to, like I'm pushing kids to get recruited. I'm going the extra mile to like, call a coach at 11 o'clock at night being like, hey, like this guy needs an offer. Like you need to at least look at him, and a lot of guys aren't doing that. That's my biggest motivation, is one, them, and then also just getting them out of here. Just because, a lot of kids, like I want them to be able to see the world like I'm seeing the world. You know what I mean? I never got that opportunity before I started training, and I want them to be able to see that with, free money and a free education. Because, I'm tired of seeing, these kids go to the same schools, and there's nothing wrong with it, but, going to like the Concords, the West, I want them to have other options. I don't want them to feel like they're stuck to an in-state school, and there's nothing wrong with it. At the end of the day, it's free education, but I just want to get them more opportunity and get them out there, because we've had such a circulation of guys going to those small, the in-state schools, and nothing's really sticking from it. You know what I mean? That's like Jawan, Westco, like they went, a different route. They went out of the state, and you see where they're at. You see like even like, Duran, like he went to the Alabama camp and he got an Alabama offer. You see the boys like going to like out, I'd take them to, the Maryland camp, all that stuff, and they're getting offers from that standpoint.
For sure.
So it's like, I want a lot, every kid that I train to have the opportunity to go out of state and not have to feel like they have to stay in there, because there really isn't that, they can get a free education, that's fine. But, I feel like it's a big thing where like a lot of the in-state, kids or like, guys, they end up graduating, they end up staying here. And I want them to have the option to leave. I don't want them to feel like they have to stay in West Virginia their whole life. And like I said, I've seen, I'm seeing the world right now, and it's a great feeling. I want them to be able to experience that too.
No, definitely.
So it's like any chance that I get, bro, like even having the camp, it was in the state, it was in Morgantown, but having like Spotlight 39, which is a DMV based like service.
Was getting ready to touch on that.
Yeah.
Talk about your camp that you just hosted in Morgantown.
Yeah, like it was a huge success, bro. We had 150 kids there. We ended up having 18 right now get offered. It'll probably be about 21 by the end of this week. We had a couple of kids, like, say, get the Power 5 offers. DeMonte Martin did. Deron Parks got the Bama offer after he got exposure from my camp. Being able to, like, see that full circle and feel like that impact, especially with, DeMonte himself. Not just because I trained him, but because he really saw that, he got that offer after that camp because he went to that camp and he balled out. If I never put that on, he wouldn't have, Penn State, he wouldn't have those schools looking at him. And so it was a great feeling seeing that, and then also being able to give him his first offer because, Coach Marion and, Coach Miles were like, yo, like, call him and kind of let him know. And, hearing him kind of like just, tear up and stuff like that was cool. That was one of the best moments I've had right now as a trainer, just because, I've had him since he was one of my most raw prospects. Like, when I first started with him, bro, he was 6'3", he was goofy. Like, you could see it from last year to now, like, it was just day and night difference. And so, seeing him, be able to get that offer and kind of like see, like, all right, this kid is really legit. Like, he's an FBS talent from West Virginia, Hedgesville of all places. It's really good to see. And it kind of proves my point that, there's kids here that can ball. And like I said, I had 150 kids come out. We had 27 schools walk through the door, throughout the day. They were coming from Marshall, going to WU camp the next day. We had a lot of recruiting service there. We had Prep Red Zone. We had Spotlight 39.
That's crazy.
I had my camera guys come out. We had 247 Rivals there too. They were there. I was able to get them there. They actually, listened to me and came out there. So it was kind of cool being able to see that because, nobody in the state really has that type of pool. So, like, I texted the guy from 247, was like, hey, I'm having a camp. If you want to come out, he's like, yeah, I'll come out. No hesitation, nothing else to that.
He paid, what you were talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So he came out, he wrote about some kids. Spotlight 39 came out. Rob, he's a great dude. Really got a lot of great clips are coming out frequently, like, throughout the week. And, he even said too, he's like, dude, there's some guys here. And he even called it with, Deron. He's like, dude, like, that's a SEC tackle. And I was like, I know. You know what I mean? Like, you got to help me get him out of here because, like, he has offers. Like, he has Penn State, Pitt. There's nothing wrong with it. But I was like, he's an SEC guy. He is. And he was like, dude, I'm going to follow him around, get close to him. Like, I'm going to make sure this is really, like, I really help him out specifically. Sure. And like I said, we posted it. I sent it to my guy out at Bama. I was like, yo, like, this kid's changed. Like, he's legit. And he's like, okay, like, let's bring him out. And he's over here like, we have camp tomorrow if you can get him here. And I'm like, like, so it was just, it was really good being able to see that from him, and even the other guys too. So we had 17 other guys, not counting those two, that, got offers from that camp. And, really, like, that, it felt really good to be able to provide that for him, because I know a lot of those kids don't get that type of exposure because a lot of the kids were from smaller schools. So it was kind of cool seeing, like, those AA and single A kids come out that were, legit, be able to get those offers that probably would have been a lot harder for them to get. And, being able to kind of vouch for them, walk around, be able to get kids recruited. Like, I enjoy doing that because it's like, if you're good enough to get that done, I'll help you in any way I can, regardless if I train you or not. Like, half the kids there, I don't train. It was 150 kids there. I don't train, but maybe 25% of them. But I acted like every single one of those kids were mine when it came to, like, the recruiting aspect. So I was over here like,
they believed in what you do if they came to the camp.
Yeah, and that's, and it's.
Did you know every kid that came?
Yeah.
Every single kid.
I watched every kid's film, graded them myself. I had, help, of course, like, picking out names, but, like, I'm very big on impressions, and, I'm not one of those guys.
So it's like an invite.
Yeah. It was inviting, and I also had some guys kind of sign up, but I kind of knew who they were. But I take really big pride on, impressions, and, I want to know, every kid that, like I said, trust me with themselves. They invested time into my camp, I'm going to invest time into them. So I really try to take pride in kind of, like, at least knowing who the person is, where they're from, and, like, even, with the MVPs and stuff like that. And, I had the coaches decide that, and about 95% of the kids that were MVPs were my kids. So it kind of showed, what I mean? Like,
it worked. Yeah. And the trust they have in you.
Yeah, and, like, it was like, I had nothing to do. with it and stuff. And a lot of the coaches were coming up, saying like you've done a really great job with this guy or this guy. And I'm like, dude, that was him. Those kids are making me look good. You know what I mean? I was like, you need to give full, like, that's them. Like, they need the credit for that. Like, ultimately, like, I've trained them, but I was like, I wouldn't be, like, they can't. They
you
come
open
every
the
day.
door, they do the work.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, don't, like, you know what I mean? I'd rather if you're trying to talk to me, I'd rather open the door so you can talk to them. And, being able to provide that, let's say for 150 kids was, really great. And I got this, like, meet some kids that I didn't, I knew on social media, didn't get to meet. Some of my Hurricane boys came up, haven't seen them for a while. So I got to see guys I haven't seen for a while and kind of be able to,
reconnect with them there.
Yeah, and it was a good experience. Like I said, I had a lot of fun. All my friends were out there. My best friends did a really great job with helping me run it. A couple of my clients' parents, and Wes Brown, he's been a really big, influence with me too. When I go down to Bridgeport, he's been one of the the best things that happened to me when it comes to being like a mentor and stuff like that. And I tell people all the time, like, I give him credit where it's due. And, he really provided me an opportunity to kind of start getting down there and, training other guys from that area, just in Bridgeport, Morgantown, and kind of giving me an outlet and kind of teaching me new things and stuff like that. And, he's also, he didn't have to help me with my camp or anything like that. And, he also, like, has a son too, like Wes Brown Jr. And, Wes is very particular about who he lets train with him. And he gave me he's fully mine. Like, I train him now. So it kind of shows like the level of trust that we have in each other. But he's also been like a really great mentor for me with, just being there and being somebody that I can look up to that relates to me, rather than, because we don't have a lot of that around here in West Virginia.
And I think it says a lot about you too, like your character and, not giving up when people were telling you to basically stop. You know what I mean? That camp would have never happened. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you listen to other people, you changed, a lot of young dudes' lives, with that camp, got them exposure.
Yeah, for sure.
Some got scholarships. You know what I mean? That's huge. So it says a lot about you for, going against what other people are saying and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, and that's like, we talked about it earlier too, just like, I'll do that for the kids, you know what I mean? Because I never got that opportunity. Like, I always had my parents, but I didn't have anybody like.
It's different when it comes from someone else, though.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's no knock against my parents or anything, but I never had anybody that was like relatable to me. You know what I mean? Like, I had both of them, but they were, they're different in different ways.
For sure. And at the end of the day, like, you hear something from your parents, like, they gotta say,
yeah,
it's your parents, like, it's your parents. But when it comes from like an individual that doesn't really have any ties to you and really just loves the game or whatever field they're in, and they're giving you some knowledge and giving you some confidence, it hits kind of different. So
yeah, and it's like I said, bro. Like, I try to give them somebody to relate to, because ultimately, like I said, we don't really have that around here. We have each other. You know what I mean? Like me and you, and we're both different sports. And you're doing a really great job, and Coach Basie is too. Shout out to him for like he's doing his thing too. But for football, like right now, Brandon is doing a great job. I feel like he's coming up and he's starting to kind of do his thing. But like for those more significant guys, especially throughout the state, I feel like I'm kind of like the guy for them. Robbie Martin, like Zod Jackson, like they're texting me. They text me like all the time, like at random times of the night, just to talk about whatever.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And it's like, ultimately, like, yeah, their coaches, I like their coach a lot. Coach Seals is a cool dude. But being able to kind of like be like that big brother, but
for sure, it's bigger than football. It's bigger than,
you know what I mean? And also getting
scholarship offers, but like, I actually know you. You know what I mean?
And that's where, like, like there's sometimes during sessions, bro, like we'll talk for like 20 minutes before we even start. And that's just, I'm like, like, what'd you do today? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Just stuff like that. Like, I try to be as relatable as I can.
And I feel like that could also get, misunderstood as well. Like those type of conversations, those 20-minute conversations, maybe even like before the session, maybe in the middle of the session, some people could see it as like, oh, they're not working hard. But like, we're working hard, but like, we're also building basketball. Any sport is going to be what it is. Yeah. But like, do you still like me after this is done? You know what I'm saying? Like, can we still talk? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's like, it's really big on the area. Like, I don't really have, too many of these problems when I go to, like when I go back to Maryland, when I go to, DC, down to Huntington, like those types of areas. It's more, here, and it's just because, I would tell people all the time, like, West Virginia is 10 years behind in everything, every sport, everything with sports related stuff. Like we still don't have a 7-on-7 team. I'm about to be the first one to have a 7-on-7 team for the state. Like we don't have anything like that for football. So it's like, every other state you go to, there's a 7-on-7 team, at least one, if not five. So I feel like in that aspect,
that might be why you get so much.
Oh yeah, it definitely it does. Yeah, it definitely is
because it hasn't been really brought upon.
When it's like, I think the biggest thing is like, and I tell people all the time is like, there's a difference between like it's okay to be scared about something, but then still want to be like want to learn about it. But being judgmental and negative shows that you don't want to grow as a person. If you want to grow as a person, you'll kind of like, you might be scared, but you're gonna embrace and be okay.
Try something different.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, okay, I might not like it, but I'm at least gonna like try to understand.
For sure.
And even if I don't, like I said, I don't like it, I'm still gonna at least respect it. And I feel like that's a big thing around here is that a lot of people don't know how to respect everybody else. If they don't like, if it's not something they like, they don't respect it. And my parents were always really big on it.
Or if it's different from them.
Yeah, my parents were always really big on respect, and that's where like I give respect, but I also want respect. I demand it. You have to, especially when like you're doing what you have to do. You have to be a respected individual to be able to train kids. You have to. And when you have people in the state that always have something to say, always have something like this, one, it shows kind of their true colors, but then two, it's like you're throwing a bad name on my rep. By saying that, and I don't take that lightly because it's like my name and my brand is everything.
For sure.
And
especially as an entrepreneur, like your name.
Yeah, like it means everything.
It means everything. So.
And even going like just the relationship portion, I take a lot of time to, build the relationships with the kids. And when I see like false info, on the internet about me, like most of the time I laugh. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like there's some things that you just like. You don't say that type of thing. Like you don't say that. You just don't. So it's like, social media became a really big thing for a lot of sneak dissers. The internet, I call it the internet kings, the little texters and stuff. But, at the end of the day, like it comes back to like just a respect thing. And, a lot of people in the area want to be respected, but they don't want to give respect out. And that's where like I'm very big on it. And if you don't give me respect, I'm not going to give you the same back. So I don't know what you expect. And I feel like in this area, like I said, we're really far behind when it comes to culture. When it comes to
just working together.
Yeah, just overall like the you go to the DMV, they're running AAU tournaments and they run them here, but it's just a different vibe when you go out there.
Like I think guys from the high schools around here, this is just me. I think they should all work out together. Like,
yeah,
I think guys should, put in off-season work together.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a crazy thing. Oh, this kid plays for this school.
Only work out
this
here.
School.
And I'm very big on that too, bro. Like I go up to
like pros work out together. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
even college guys.
You know what I mean?
College guys work out again. Like they'll work out with guys they go to school with. You know what I mean? Like I have multiple guys. Like my one boy goes to Clemson, the other one goes to UNC. And they've worked out together. And they have like they're cool. They're mad cool. Like they're really good friends.
Same conference too.
So it's like I'm really big on that too. Where like I like creating diversity. Like I want to create that different type of culture.
So it pushes. It's iron sharpens iron. That's
and it's also preparing them for life because they're not going to be able to choose who they're around,
who they work with.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And it's like I'm kind of helping you out because I'm putting you in a good predicament because other
being uncomfortable. It's that first day, at a job and you don't know anybody.
And that's like
get to work. We gotta go.
And it goes back to like I said, just the the local high schools don't like that, bro. They really don't, and I don't understand it. There's only a few schools that do, and it's kind of very evident.
So what's the goal for you moving forward with your business, training business? Are you trying to stay here locally? Or are you trying to?
Honestly, bro, I haven't really made that decision. I'm going out to Houston in July. My boy Del Fonte's out there. Trains a lot of guys. Going out there. I went out to Houston last summer. Loved it. I really don't know what's next. I'm really just building up. I'm trying to travel more, go to different places, kind of explore. I think eventually, I will leave. Definitely still want to kind of come back. Still do the camps, all that stuff.
Leave and like continue to train.
Yeah.
Other places.
And it mostly just comes back to. I can only really take so much, and it comes back to, the disrespect all the time. The parents always saying something, and eventually it does. I won't say it gets to you, but it just gets old. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting to a point now where, I train such high caliber players. I shouldn't be having to,
Shouldn't be back and forth.
Yeah, I
Arguments.
shouldn't be having to argue with a mom, on Facebook about, you don't know what you're doing, you're a bum, you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, why? You know what I mean? Just
just leave me alone.
Just
Let me do
because
my
you're
job.
yeah, just because you're mad that I'm getting somebody else's kid better that you don't like, or you're mad that a kid transfers out, and then all of a sudden you're like, all that kid's trash now because he left the school. Like, and you know what I mean? It just comes back to, like I said, I'm just like, I want to go somewhere where I feel more valued, but at the same time, like I feel like I'm to a point now where, I could go pretty much anywhere and kind of do what I do.
Hey man, I would say don't stop what you're doing, no matter like what people are saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Good or bad, right? Like
Yeah.
hear the good stuff. Thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, even don't let that define if you're gonna go harder or not.
Yeah, for sure.
And even in bad stuff, like understand that they could talk about anyone else in this world, bro.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So it makes you appreciative that like I'm doing something okay.
Yeah, and I am like it's really built me. The haters have made me into who I am partially too when it comes to just being able to handle, the criticism and the negative energy and stuff. It's just like I said.
And we talked about it.
Yeah.
A while ago, I was like, bro, don't even.
Yeah. So I said I've tried to chill out, bro. It's just like I've been picking and choosing my battles, and more of my battles just came from the kids. Like, going after kids on social media for transferring, like that is absolutely wild to me, and I'll never understand that. Like, I don't know how you couldn't, there's this cancel culture now. Why are you guys not canceling?
I personally think like parents just need to like
relax,
be parents. Like, why do y'all care so much that kids are transferring other places? Like, how does that affect?
Well, you don't know the whole story.
Or even that, like, where you're an adult. Like, you're an adult. Like, why do you care
when it doesn't affect
where
you?
A kid goes and plays a kid's game? You know what I mean? Like, why does that matter to you? You know what I mean? I think that says a lot about that person who's saying stuff about that. Then
and it's like the weird thing that I see is that like that happens, but then they don't get like canceled or anything like that. But then I'm the one that gets whatever, and I'm like, I'm not even saying anything crazy, bro. I'm over here like
they need someone to blame, bro.
Yeah, and that's if I gotta be the villain, bro, it is what it is. My kids already be calling me a threat anyway. They love me for having their back regardless, and I'm gonna keep doing that, regardless of whatever I have to do.
For sure.
You know what I mean? If those guys coaches have something to say, cool, it is what it is. Like I'm still gonna keep. You're not gonna do anything about your kids training.
For sure, man.
Like, and I hate being like that. You know what I mean? But it's like.
Keep it going.
Yeah, if you don't want to see and it should kind of show for this, the stats too. Like, how do you not want to see a kid getting extra work outside the program that's going to benefit you on like your team on the field?
Sure, it can only benefit you. I don't really think any of the training and off-season workouts outside of the school stuff can hurt you.
And that's where I feel like they're about 10 years behind. I had this talk with Coach Miles, like Miles Gray, and he would say, he's like, bro, like if they're not here, is like they're not supporting that, like like that needs to change. He's like, everywhere else you go like that, it is. You know what I mean? I go out to Houston.
I feel like coaches are, pushing, go work out. Go work out.
Yeah.
I mean, go.
And that's what, like, I went out to Houston, bro, and I had 20 kids come out, and their head coach actually paid for them to be able to train with me. Like, he actually hit me on,
that's gotta feel like a great.
Yeah, and that's where it's like, okay, like, I want to, this is what I expect, but it's like, okay, like, I'm getting to that point where, like, coaches are hitting me like that across, different states and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, look, if you need me to come out there, like, I will come out there.
For sure.
So it's like, when I have to deal with coaching staffs back here, and I have to deal with, them not wanting a kid to get better, not wanting a kid to succeed, not pushing the recruitment. And it's like, okay, so why isn't anybody, like, talking about this? Because it's a real thing. And it's the main reason why a lot of kids don't get recruited here. And, it goes back to what we talked about, I've had a lot of success with recruiting stuff, like, Duran getting the Bama offer, DeMonte, getting the UNLV offer, that should kind of show, like, hey, like, maybe there is something wrong with maybe our staff, or maybe they're not doing enough to get these kids out of here. Because, a lot of kids text me after, DeMonte and Duran got the offers and, like, congrats, like, they were all supportive. You know what I mean? And I make sure, like, I'm like, we're all going to be supportive of each other if you don't know them like that. And, but it goes back to where I feel bad because it's like, okay, like you can't save everybody, but I was like, all right, cool. Like I got, DeMonte that offer, why is Cash not getting his? Like, what can I do to get him? He needs that first one too. And, I'm always going to work hard for those guys, those type of guys, all my guys, you know what I mean? But those type of guys that, one, put in the work with me that deserve it. I'm gonna go the extra mile to like call that coach and be like, he needs this offer. But at the same time, it's like a lot of the staffs and they aren't setting their kids up for success because they're not answering the phone. And it's like they want all the credit for it, but they don't want to put any of the work for it. And half the time, I don't even say anything. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't talk about a lot of the kids that I do get recruited. Like it is what it is.
For sure.
And I don't mind. Like it's not one of those things where like I'm over here like, oh, I got that kid this and I got that kid that.
Sure.
But it's like, it should kind of show like, all right, cool, like, Keyshawn committing to WVU. Like I said, like, going back to that, like, he only got maybe like 8 or 9 offers. He should have definitely got more. He was a 3-star kid. He should have had at least, about 15 to 20. And, I don't really know how else to really put it. You know what I mean? Like it should show like, all right, cool, if that kid, got that, why is, Nasir Jacobs, why is he not getting this? Why is Quentin Dillon's not getting this? Or, you go to, Spring Mills, like, why is Max Anderson not getting this?
Yeah.
Why is, his brother Zay Anderson not getting this at 6'6"? Like the kid's 6'6" as a sophomore. Why is, the other, like, going even to Hedgesville, like, why, it took DeMonte this long to get offered. Why I had to figure out, like, okay, what is the main problem and what do I have to do to fix it? And, when I fix it, that's when a lot of the coaches have problems with it. So like, why are y'all complaining about a problem that needed to be fixed? When I solved the problem, but then all of a sudden you're mad because you're not the one getting him the offer, but you never did the work in the process. It makes no sense to me.
It's true.
And,
I really just say, man, like, keep it going. You know what I mean? Like, you started a culture, I guess, in a way of like tomorrow you're taking kids to,
yeah,
Maryland.
they're probably going to get
you
offered.
You don't even have to do that, bro. You know what I mean? Like, keep creating that culture. Even if, because there's people that obviously appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. And it keeps me going with that too, bro, with the parents. It's like I said, like it's getting to the point now where I gotta put, and I tell the boys all the time, like, I'm gonna see you guys go through.
Yeah,
I will.
sure.
But I was like, it's gotten to the point where it's like, all right, I gotta put not really myself, but I gotta put, my business in the best position. Sure. And if it means,
to elevate.
Yeah, and that,
I think regardless, like if you keep doing like this camp you just had, and you keep, going with your training sessions, I feel like, your resume is gonna keep building. That, you had camps where 17 kids got offers. That's crazy, and that's just gonna keep building. You know what I mean? Bros, they're gonna have to respect it. Like you or not, they're gonna have to respect.
Yeah, and that's where like that's been the biggest thing. Is like I tell people, and I talk to my parents all the time. Like, you don't gotta like me, but you're gonna respect me.
Sure.
And that's like, I'm the same way, bro. Like, I might not like you, but I'm still gonna respect you.
What's going on.
Yeah,
bro.
You know what I mean? Like, if I don't like, all right, cool, I have enough respect for you to be like,
Sure.
And that's the biggest thing, bro. Is a lot of it comes full circle when like a lot of the people around here kind of grow up the way that they do, and they're not used to like
change.
Yeah, change is outside culture coming in.
Sure. And that's why like some guys are intimidated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like I have conversations like this all the time with the people I'm close with. Like, when they see something good going on, they're intimidated to jump on with what's going on because they've never seen it before. It's, great things. But hey, bro, I appreciate you for what you do, what you're doing for the community, and coming in here, stepping on with us tonight, man. Like, that's your story. You know what I mean? It's gonna move a lot of people. So
I appreciate
you, man. Keep going, dog.
Appreciate it, bro.
Yes, sir.